Just look at that for a moment. 3% of the population are earning 97% of all the money that's being earned. You know, those statistics are so absolutely ridiculous. If you rejected them, it sure wouldn't be a surprise, because most people do. I think we all know that there's a very small select group that really make things happen. But we are also raised with the idea that they're absolutely brilliant. These people are genius. They've got a higher IQ or something. Do you want to know the truth? Sometimes they don't. Some of them have, but some of them don't. Do you know that there's people who are functionally illiterate, that can neither read nor write, who are multimillionaires? Go back to the first video that I sent you. There you see an ordinary beekeeper, Edmund Hillary, from Auckland, New Zealand, and Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa guide from over in Nepal. They did something that man has been trying for centuries, and they never did it. How did these two guys do it? They're just ordinary guys, a beekeeper and a guide. How did they do it? They made up their mind they were going to do it. Then take a look at the Wright brothers, a couple of ordinary bicycle mechanics. Have you any idea how far back in history you'd have to go to find out when we first started to try and fly motored object in the air? As far back as you can go in recorded history. But the Wright brothers did it. How did they do it? They did it because they decided they were going to do it. Just ordinary guys, bicycle mechanics. Take a look at Edison. You know, he was sent home from school in grade 3. They said this kid's never going to learn anything. 1,000 tries to make that light bulb. And he said it didn't have 1,000 failures. It was something that required 1,000 steps. He changed the entire world. I mentioned about flying into London, England. As far as you could see, there were light bulbs burning all over the place. Now, granted, Dr. Wernher von Braun is considered the father of the space program, and President John Kennedy was no slouch. But they got us to the moon because they made a decision to do something that most people thought couldn't be done. Now think about this for a moment. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. If you're anything like me, you probably see yourself as a very ordinary person. I know I do. I knew Edmund Hillary. I got to know him. I got to work with him on 2 or 3 occasions. And you know something? He was a very ordinary guy. He was a big guy. The only difference I saw in him and anybody else is his size. He was a huge man. He shook hands, his hand wrapped right around you. All of those people I mentioned saw themselves as just very ordinary people. But they did not let the thinking of the masses control their life. They didn't let the programming in their subconscious mind control them. Now, in the second video, I talked about paradigms. And you know, when I finished, if you had asked me, I'd have thought, yeah, I think I explained that fairly well. But when it was all over, Ashley, the lady that's working on the camera here, she said, well, what are paradigms? And I knew I had missed the mark. You see, if the student doesn't understand, you don't blame the student, you blame the teacher. I am communicating the idea, and I never got it across well. Now, I pointed out it's a multitude of habits. That's really what it is. A paradigm is subconscious conditioning. We're programmed genetically. That's why we look so much like our relatives. And then we're programmed environmentally. Do you know, if you took a baby out of a home in America, a white Anglo-Saxon English-speaking home, and put it in the suburbs of Beijing, that baby would grow up fluent in Chinese with no knowledge of the English language, or vice versa. See, we're conditioned by our environment. Almost all welfare recipients, 3rd, 4th, 5th generation welfare recipients. Well, you know, every now and then, someone, like myself, breaks out of their environment. They change things. And I'm suggesting you can do that. Now, I don't care if your income's 100, 200. I'll show you how to take it over $1 million. You may have had every diet in the books. And I don't really know much about diets. But I do know a whole lot about the body and the mind. And the body is an instrument of the mind. I'll show you how to take the weight off and keep it off. Because you're not going to lose weight. When you lose something, you're programmed to look for it. We're going to release it. And how about relationships? Do you know there's a secret to relationships? There really is. Make the other person feel like the most important person in the world. Forget yourself. Give yourself to them. You say, well, that's kind of tough. I know. That's part of the paradigm. We're going to show you how to change all that. Have you any idea how programmed you actually are? You know, I just have to look at myself. Somebody say, what time do you get up? I get up 5:30 every morning. Every morning. You think, some days I think, well, I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. 5:30, I'm out of bed. When I wake up, I get up. And you know, I wash my hair, dry my hair, but before I dry my hair, I shave. Very rarely do I shave after I dry my hair. Why? It's a routine. When you get dressed, how do you get dressed? I would feel very uncomfortable in a teaching setup without a suit. Now you see people today in jeans, sandals, and sweatshirts, but that's not my paradigm. We're conditioned to comb our hair the way we comb it, to walk the way we walk, to talk the way we talk. That's what a paradigm is. A paradigm is a multitude of ideas that are fixed in your subconscious mind. Now I'm going to ask you to think, what time do you get up? You say, well, I get up at different times. No, you probably don't. You probably get up at the same time, just about the same time every day. And when you do get up, what do you do? What do you do? And if you're living with someone, what do they do? You see, there's a routine, and you don't mess with the other person's routine. Usually people are fairly quiet in the morning, and they go about their routine. Do you know, if a person's late for work, they're almost always late for work. If a person's early, they're almost always early. You can set your clock by people. You see them walking into an office, if they have a briefcase, they set it down the same place. They go to the coffee pot, they say the same thing, going by the same person to get the same cup of coffee every morning. Why? We are creatures of habit. Do you know that most people tiptoe through life hoping they make it safely to death? They never step out of that paradigm. I'll bet you'd like to. I'll bet you would really like to. I'll bet you'd like to see your income take off like a rocket. Oh, you may be earning more than most people, but you never have enough. Why? Because you always want to do something beyond where you're at. That's a normal part of being human. Expansion, fuller expression. Stop and think. How would you like to feel really good? Be really happy all the time. That's what this is all about. That's what programs are about. We have it made if we would only use the potential we've got. Well, you see, when I changed like night and day. I went from 4,000 to over 1 million. I wasn't happy with the fact I changed. I had to know why. It took me 9 years, but I figured it out. And for the last 43 years, I have been teaching this all over the world. Now, we usually go in and teach it in corporations. 9 years ago, a man came to my seminar, and he walked out a different person. He had always been losing, just average income. He was flat broke in that seminar. He just told me since. But you know, he took the information, he changed the paradigm, he got involved in the repetition of changing it. Paradigms are changed the same way they're formed. It takes time and it takes guidance. He took the guidance, he took the time, and his income went well over 1 million. I knew the story of him. Didn't know him well, but I knew the story. A couple of years ago, he came to me. He said, Bob, I have a plan where we could take your information and we could teach it all over the world at the same time, where you can work one-on-one with people. How would you like to work one-on-one with me? I could show you how to make some phenomenal changes. You know, live your dream. Well, that's real. We can live. I'm living my dream. I'll be 77 on my next birthday. I've got more energy than most people 27. Think about it. I earn millions of dollars. I have all kinds of fun. I have meaningful relationships all over the world, literally all over the world. This is the same guy that sat in a fire hall that didn't know the war was over. I changed my paradigm. Now, paradigms are changed through the repetition of new ideas. You take a look at how you're living, you see the habit that's being expressed, and you know the result it's giving you. And then you take a new idea and you replace that old idea with the new idea. See, a paradigm can only be changed one of two ways. An emotional impact, just wham, like that. 9/11 was an emotional impact, changed people's lives forever. A death in the family, like that, changes paradigms. The other way is constant spaced repetition, and that's what we've got. We've got a plan. We put together a plan to show you how to change your paradigm so that you can live your dream, that you step out every day and you make every day a phenomenal day. Life should be an exciting adventure. It should never be a bore. Lanny Morton's plan has taken all that into consideration. A couple of days from now, I'm going to send you a video where we've got it all laid out. You just have to make a decision. And you make the decision, you make the right decision at the right time, and I guarantee you, you know all the dreams you had? Hey, listen, the fact that you've tried many times in the past it didn't work, you've tried this program and that program, you never tried this. This is a beautiful concept that Lanny's laid out. We're working on it together, and I'm going to explain it to you in a couple of days.